We have the polls and politics, we have policy, and then we have the personal. They're all P's, and we'll jump around as seems right to you, okay?
That's fine.
The latest CNN ORC poll, you don't get more accurate than that. It has you for the first time considered competitive in the general election. 6 points separating you and Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
You must be shocked.
Well, it's not my focus right now. Right now, I have 16 other people that I'm looking at, and that's not my focus, but indirectly it probably is. And I think that Hillary's going to have a hard time being in the election based on what's happening with the emails, the servers, maybe even the speeches. I think it's going to be a very hard thing for her to overcome. When I look, Chris, at what happened with Petraeus on a much smaller level, great general, wonderful guy, everybody loves him, and they've destroyed his life over much less. I mean, in terms of confidentiality, in terms of importance, much less and far fewer. And it would seem hard to think that somebody could have a much worse situation than him and escape.
Well, the factual distinction would be that that was classified information with Petraeus, and he knew it and he used it. Here, we do not know yet that Hillary Clinton was doing the wrong thing or mishandling classified information.
But it looks like
Doesn't
it
that matter?
was, and it certainly looks like it was very high-level information. And what's the purpose of it? You know, it's always skirting the edge. What's the purpose of it? In the end, she had something in mind. She didn't want people to know or something, but what is she doing? Why is she doing it?
You think this is going to really hurt her long time?
Oh, I think it's devastating. I think it's devastating for the election, but I think her bigger problem is not the election. I think her bigger problem is going to be the criminal problem.
You really think that this could turn out to be a criminal situation for Hillary Clinton? Because there's no reference of that from the investigators.
I
right
don't
now.
think I'm the only one. I mean, the FBI's involved. They only do criminal. I don't think I'm the only one. Now, maybe it's somebody on her staff. But look, it's either criminal or it's incompetent. It's one or the other. There's either gross incompetence or criminal, and neither's acceptable to be president.
I feel like you're skipping the headline. You're 6 points from Hillary Clinton. Nobody would have expected that. You're kind of glossing over it. Why? Shouldn't you be saying 6 points? I can't believe I'm not ahead.
Well, that's one thing I could say, I guess. You know, I think we'll do very well against Hillary. Hillary's record as Secretary of State was a disaster. She was in favor, totally in favor of the Iraq War, which is obviously not a good soundbite. I think we're going to do very well. And as you know, I've been against it for years, the Iraq War. I said, you're going to decimate Iraq. Iran will take over the Middle East and take over Iraq, which is exactly what's happening. And somebody's going to come and take over the leftover oil. And who did that turn out to be? ISIS. So if you look at 2004, exactly what I said happened. So call it vision. I have to call it vision because I'm trying to get elected. First time in my life I'm trying to get elected, right? I'm a politician all of a sudden. But there was a certain vision. I've gotten a lot of credit for it. They made a terrible mistake. And then they made a terrible mistake the way they got out. And in my opinion, they made an even worse mistake not keeping the oil. Because ISIS took the oil and Iran is going to take the rest of it.
People want it out, though, Mr. Trump. And they didn't want forces there. They don't want forces there now. If you wanted to do what you sometimes suggest, which is take the oil, that would take troops, that would take danger, that would take blood and treasure.
Well, I'd like to take the oil and I'd give a lot of money to the people that were, to the families of the people that were killed, to the incredible wounded warriors that are all over the place. I love these people. These are the greatest people, and they're living in hell. And I'd give lots of money to them, their families. I mean, look at all the people. We spent $2 trillion, thousands of people killed, thousands, tens of thousands of wounded. We have nothing. Right now, Iran is going to take over Iraq, and ISIS has already taken big parts of the wealthy section of Iraq.
Would it be worth creating more wounded veterans in order to do what you want to do there?
Well, I see what I would do. You wouldn't have that many, I will tell you. I would just take over the source of their wealth. A big source of their wealth is the oil. And also, if you look at what's going on with the banks, the Iranian banks, the Saudi banks, they're funneling money into ISIS, and yet we help these people. We make this horrible deal for, I mean, one of the worst, I think it'll go down as one of the worst deals ever made by a country with another country. And it's going to lead to, whether it's nuclear destruction, you could name lots of bad scenarios, but the deal with Iran is a totally incompetently negotiated transaction.
Wasn't one of the reasons, and I know there are many and it's complex, but that the allies felt they needed to do a deal with Iran was obviously the nukes, but also Iran has been helpful with ISIS. They've been fighting ISIS for whatever reasons. Maybe they're good or neutral or bad reasons, but they've been fighting against ISIS, not trying to help ISIS.
Well, you know, there's a whole thing going on. First of all, you look at Iran with Syria. Now, ISIS is fighting Syria. We're supposed to be Syria's great enemy. but we're fighting ISIS. You know, you can almost say, why are we fighting ISIS in Syria? Let ISIS fight with Syria and, you know, take up the leftovers or do whatever you have to do. So Assad has to be looking at us and saying, hey, these are supposed to be my enemies, but they're the ones that are fighting ISIS, and ISIS is a very, very big enemy from his standpoint. So there are so many mistakes we're making in the Middle East, it's incredible. But when you look at just that one thing, ISIS wants to go after Syria. We're fighting ISIS in Syria. Now, the other thing is that ISIS is taking oil in Syria. I am all for the oil. I want to take care of ourselves. I want to rebuild this country. We should focus on the wealth of ISIS. We have to do something with ISIS. Well, I was against going after Iraq because it will destabilize the Middle East. I was right. Now we have to do something. When they're chopping off heads because a person's a Christian, and by the way, chop off heads of almost everybody anyway, but you have people that are living in hell. I mean, this is like medieval times, so we have to do something. But I say take the wealth, take the oil, and I also say give lots of money, and there'll be plenty left over, it's peanuts by comparison, to the families of those soldiers that died and to the wounded warriors. Plenty of money to them because they deserve it.
When you think about ISIS and what you do to stop them, how much of it for you is about the military? How much of it for you is about doing other things, political things, to strengthen the regions that they're preying upon?
Well, I think a lot of it is about the military. And I think one of the things I noticed in your poll, I came out way, way ahead of everybody on the economy. And a lot of people weren't surprised to see that. But I also came way out ahead on the military.
And ISIS specifically.
And ISIS. I think that I will be a great sleeper on the military because people wouldn't think it's my strength, but I think it would be one of my strengths. I want to build up our military. I want to have such an incredible military that nobody's going to play games with us, nobody's going to mess with us, and hopefully we won't ever have to use our military. But we need a powerful military. Being in the real estate business, I get so many listings of bases, Army bases, Navy bases, you know, there's so many all the time. A base is for sale. A place where they have soldiers is for sale. I keep saying, how many of these places do they have where I can get all these listings? You take a look, a lot of sales of bases, military bases. I would build up our military so strong, so powerful that nobody will mess with us. And I think actually that will be the thing that I will be really just about the best at.